Thank you very much for your support, and thank you to my patrons for making this video possible. Enjoy the video, guys.
What a maneuver!
What's up, everybody? We are back with another A-list deck profile, and this time we got Staff Strike Overhaul. This one goes out to Crown Axe. I apologize, this one's a bit late, but my original excuse was I was waiting for Maximum Overhaul to be legal, and then I tried the deck both with this version and with Maximum Overhaul. I actually did a lot of tweaking to the deck. This is the deck where I felt like there's something I'm missing, one more piece needed. You know, there's a bunch of different, you know, little things to change, little knobs to it's a lot of personal preference, you know, just on like what are the tech piece attacks to run in here. I went for good block mods. I'm not gonna lie, a big part of these decisions here were really good block mods. You know, the gist of the deck is, as any Staff Strike deck, we're playing all the same weapons on life. It's our only symbol to choose from with this character and combination. And Overhaul's ability to ignore progressive difficulty makes Staff Strike feel pretty good, you know, as far as getting like a 4 or 5 attack string in. And his ability to save attacks for later is really nice for that. You know, he's very, very similar to Momo. I would say his one specific niche is he has the right block zone earlier in the game, more often than Momo does typically. You know, turn 2, turn 3, it's a little dicey for both of them, whether or not they have the exact right block zone, and being able to ignore that progressive difficulty, you know, comes out to being like 2 speed a lot of the time. Specifically turn 2 survival he might be a smidge better at, but he definitely doesn't play the super long game at that moment. So I didn't have super big deck, and we're pretty reliant on our Staff Strike card draw to fit the extra weapon foundations in, and to fit in the ability to actually recur multiple attacks from our stage. You know, I had to reduce our passing the torch count, and this made the deck a little bit better. You know, once it saw the right hands, it really performed well. I mean, that's most decks, but Overhaul specifically, the ability to pass all these checks, the ability to overcome breakers and things like that with this deck was really, really formidable. So the other thing that's kind of spicy that you might not expect, or you might not have seen too much of, the All Might's mentorship. This is the kind of card that we really needed. Only does it not count towards progressive to get our wacky combos sort of started, but this is a great card for playing around like a breaker 1. Exactly one time I played a flipped copy of this on a B with a breaker 2 to avoid, you know, with Overhaul's enhanced to ignore progressive and check the 5 on it, right, to avoid getting breakered off my strike combo. So there is some really interesting things you can do with this, but the main thing is it increases our consistency once we start hitting our opponent. And that's the thing you have to be really geared for, is you have to play along anywhere with this deck. We're not pumping speed, not stunning people out, and you're really trying to get like the kind of circus turn going. The main changes I would make to this deck, if you feel like it, which I meant to put in the sideboard, I apologize, I'm not prepared for this, is the futures now, and maybe a Maximum Overhaul. The futures now can allow you to do specifically the crazy card draw version of Staff, right? You've got the futures now, you've got a bunch of fountains, you've got just Staff Strike. I feel like it's very rare that came up, because of the way that Overhaul sculpts and because of the way that Overhaul plays that attack from his stage. It was just so rare that I was ever able to get the futures now going, and so I took it back out. This is very much like a no flips, just fists kind of build, right? For a Staff Strike deck, it is surprisingly no frills, I guess is how I would put it. It's very much trying to pass the checks. It needs to get to like turn 4 to really pop off and to really have things like quick creation out to, you know, fill our discard pile, or sorry, fill our card pool up with fountain. And again, we're really reliant multiple Staff Strikes to get our card draw going. I would say try to get a staff strike that's drawing at least 2 cards. If you just go attack, foundation, attack into staff strike, you're not going to be drawing enough cards to really get going, unless your hand is just absolute total smoking gas. What does help us with that though is Lost in Thought, as well as Throwing Knife Lunge. This card was the MVP pretty much every game. It's because Overhaul's damage is a little sneaky. You know, he knowingly puts damage on things. He doesn't have to waste his resource, which but this also answers the answers, right? This is something that surprisingly demands a block more than people want to admit. And when you do get the super long chain going, having 2 of these in the card pool, even 1, but really having 2 shows off, right? It really, your opponent really feels it when you're playing like your 5th or 6th attack. Like, okay, if this hits, Overhaul gives it 2, Throwing Knife Lunge gives it 2, and those are relatively free stats. They're gonna apply to everything. So very cool stuff. Also a really good non-foundation target for quick creation, right? 1 or 2 times I was able to add this into my card pool with quick creation, and it was giving me the damage I needed. Basically, like, I had gotten the staff strike in on an opponent who had failed to kill me, and this is now adding damage to all of my ignoring progressive attack. So very cool stuff, very interesting little things you can do. Like most Momo kit, like most life decks, there's just a ton of buttons to press. So the highlights for this deck specifically, why you should play Overhaul instead of Momo for a deck like this: Hand of Confession. Hand of Confession increases our card draw consistency. Staff Strike, it allows us to play weird out of sequence staff strike turns, which is very, very cool. And it increases our consistency, which we get to play an attack that ignores progressives. This is like a cute little combo piece that most people don't like because it doesn't remove the card from our progressive difficulty, and it seems like just a very niche loop piece. You know, it's a very inefficient combo loop, and when Staff Strike is ignoring progressive, it's really not that big of a deal. So very cool stuff. Increases our draw consistency, increases our combo consistency as well, because I also did have it where my opponent stuffed face downs into my card pool, face shielded me, whatever. Hand of Confession can turn that face down into a foundation for our combo requirement. So very, very cool stuff. The deadlock is really, really interesting too. So don't forget that. I did forget that in one game and I felt really dumb. But very cool stuff. And then the other thing is Serum Bullet. Serum Bullet is something I don't think that makes it onto your average Momo list, but because we're kind of drilling in harder on getting one big hurrah turn going with staff. And specifically because we can pull this out when we really need it, right? The first thing to flip once it's in your stage for Overhaul, just to make sure you have a low block, and having a low block with stun 1, not the worst thing in the world. And so I do think this one's really neat, and it really does help you make up for the fact that, I'll just say, this is a deck without Back Alley Haymaker, right? So your consistency pieces are going to be all over the place. Other than that, it's normal Staff Strike quick creation stuff, right? We've got discard, pile, management cards like Floating, maxed out. We only have 3 release because it's a 4 check, but you only need to have 1 to start surviving. Then we've got a bunch of our weapon fountains. So if you do want to make some changes to this deck, the Futures Now and Maximum Overhaul are things that have very, very good upside, but they are things that I've tested out and kind of found wanting. Other than that, definitely sideboard any answers you can think of to cards like Night Watch, anything where your opponent can disrupt your combo. That is your number 1 priority. Protect that combo. Other than that, all roads pretty much lead to the world's biggest cannon blast. Occasionally home run comment does get there, but it really only gets pumped by itself and cannon blast. And create capturing net is also none of the other attacks are a high or a charge attack, so this is one that you could swap out for the Maximum Overhaul. You know, you look at the block situation, mid block for mid block feels all right. So let me know what you guys think. Is this a Staff Strike list that you would play yourself? What changes would you make? Let me know in the comments down below.